15 minutes now after 9 on the island, 15 minutes before 9 in Labrador. And later on this evening in McIvers on the West Coast, there is a celebration of the life and work of beloved artist Colette Urban. She was an extraordinary person. Anyone who met her will attest to that. And she's created ripples throughout the arts community and beyond in Newfoundland and Labrador since she moved here from Ontario. I've got two of her friends and artistic colleagues on the line, Ingrid Piercy and Jerry Lynn Mackey. Good morning, girls.
Good morning, Angela.
Hi there.
Hi. It's I know it's difficult to talk about Colette because her death is so recent. It's only been a couple of weeks. Is that right?
Yes, she died on June 16th in McIvers.
She died in such a public and yet graceful way. She was documenting her decline, I guess. She died of cancer for about a month on Facebook and on various social media sites, which sounds almost macabre to say, but the way she did it was so much about creating a community of friends and reconnecting with friends and letting people know how she was doing.
And she had so many friends around the country and I guess really around the world, so it was a nice way for people who love her to see how she was.
It was interesting to see the community grow and grow and grow, and the messages that people were sending were just beautiful.
They were really amazing. I think what was so amazing about her death as well was that she really made it a kind of a collaborative process with herself and other artists. She included so many artists in her dying process along the way. So, for example, this event that's happening today at Full Tilt, Colette and I spoke about it in depth when she was in the hospital a couple of months ago. She wanted to, make sure that we sat down together and that I took notes and that she was able to sort of tell me what she wanted for the celebration. She had a list of people that she wanted to perform at the event, and it was just very amazing. I mean, she brought Wendy Coburn. She asked Wendy Coburn, who's a sculptor in Toronto, to design her urn, and Wendy came to Full Tilt and did that while Colette was, ill just a couple of months ago, and Wendy designed a beautiful urn, and Colette critiqued it from the bed that she would later die in, and it was just so beautiful how she brought all of the artists around her into the dying process.
Tell me a little bit about Colette, Jerry Lynn. You really blossomed as a performance artist, as a colleague of hers. Tell me what she brought to the West Coast, to the arts community.
I feel like her being in my life was an absolute gift for my work. I wouldn't be able to call myself a performance artist if I hadn't met this woman, because I didn't know anyone who was a performance artist, and I had nowhere to do anything to perform. So. When she opened up her doors and said, sure, you can climb in a dryer at my place. And I've got an art opening where you can do it, I mean, that was the beginning of the end for me. She's just been so wonderful. And she's moved a lot of people. She shows you that, or she showed me that, do what you want to do, and the rest comes naturally. So
I think that was one of her greatest talents or gifts, was that she allowed things to happen, and especially for artists around her. She just allowed things to happen and encouraged them. She didn't shut people down, and it created a really beautiful atmosphere of creative expression for not only artists, but everybody in the local community, as well as the broader community, the national community, the international community of which Colette was a part.
She was a galvanizing force, wasn't she?
Absolutely.
There was a funny story. I believe I read it on the Facebook page about how when she knew she was going to be a performance artist.
Lifting her sweater up, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think that was in that beautiful obituary that
Joan
Sullivan wrote for the Globe and Mail.
Yeah.
Which was an amazing piece of writing, and I thank Joan so much for writing that. It was a great little anecdote, and I think what was, just kind of going back to what Jerry Lynn was saying, that Colette had so many friends and acquaintances, and just she touched so many people that there's all of these stories that come out that people have individually and that other people didn't know about or are only hearing now. And it's just really interesting that she did sort of touch so many people in so many ways. You know, that story, I think, was given to Joan Sullivan by Julie, who was Colette's sister, and it's just a wonderful story.
Do you want to retell it? Can you remember the details?
I think they were sitting on a school bus, and
no, it was a circus camp bus.
Oh, was it? Okay,
circus camp.
And they were trying to see who could be the reddest, like basically by holding your breath. And Colette happened to be wearing a red sweater, and she pulled it up over her face, in this sort of gesture to show that she was the reddest. And I think it's really interesting because she used so many, costumes in her work later on. I mean, she was her sort of, I don't know, just these kind of these actions with the costumes she used were that anecdote is kind of indicative of her later practice as well.
I remember when I was an art student in Toronto, I read an article in, I think it was Canadian Art Magazine, and it was about this woman and an elephant and what was obviously a saltbox house. And I thought, who is this woman with the elephant in Newfoundland? I was really confused. And then eventually, of course, I met Colette, and she loved Newfoundland. She came from Ontario, but I guess Full Tilt, her artist residency and her home in Meadows, it really were like her dream project, right?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Absolutely. The piece that you're referring to is called Recalling Belvedere, and the elephant in that piece, she wrote an elephant, and she had a maquette of her saltbox house on her head, and she had a long flowing kind of cape that she wore that represented the landscape, and the house was her house on the landscape in Meadows, and the elephant for her represented Newfoundland. She saw Newfoundland as a large, gray, old, kind of, beautiful thing.
Wise.
And that's what the elephant represented in that piece.
I did hear that she wanted to have and this is indicative of the kind of person she was, a Ferris wheel at her wake. Is that true?
We tried. I don't know if we got it. I think there was an insurance issue. I'm not sure if we got it, but we found one. Ingrid, do you know if the Ferris wheel will be on?
I don't think the Ferris wheel is going to happen. We did try to contact the person. That was one of the things. Colette had seen the Ferris wheel by the side of the road, and she thought that would be a wonderful thing to have at her memorial today because she wanted something for the kids to do.
Right.
I mean, but that's just so Colette too. I mean, she just had such a great sense of adventure, and her imagination was so large, I mean, anything was possible.
And she was so much fun, fun.
Yeah, well, that kind of says it all, doesn't it?
It does.
And it is a celebration today. There's Danielle Payne performing, there's a pig roast, and I think, Jerry Lynn, you're doing something with a tuba that is made up of lawn hoses. Something?
Well, see, I used to have a tuba, but I don't have one anymore. So when life gives you lemons, you have to do something. So I think that's kind of fitting.
If people want to go to Full Tilt today, I wish I could go. It's 4:00, right, in McIvers. Is that right? 4:00
right.
Onwards.
And Sherry is emceeing it.
Oh, and
that's right.
So it'll be spectacular because Jerry Lynn is an amazing performer.
She is.
Go on, ladies. Keep talking. I will be reading memories and thoughts and greetings, I guess, to Colette's family. So if you'd like, I can give you my email address after if you wanted to put it on the website. And anyone who would like to send greetings, I'll take them right until the minute I go out of service area.
Okay. So I'll ask people to send any memories or thoughts or wishes for Colette, about Colette, to wham@cbc.ca, and I'll just forward them to you.
Oh, perfect.
That's easy to remember. WAM. Well, thank you, Jerry Lynn and Ingrid Mary, for chatting with us about Colette today. It's really important to remember her spirit, I think.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much
for having us on, Angela.
Okay. So that's 4:00 today in McIvers. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And it's a celebration of Colette Urban's life. Here's Andrew James O'Brien with Thank You.
I wanna thank you all for coming. With all your hearts in tow, I'll give you mine, it's all that I can do. Until it's time to go. It's been a long, cold, lonely winter. Feeling so alone.